In this video, I'm going to talk about cash flow analysis and what stays inside that. We will see a live example of Adani Enterprises in our analysis today. If you are doing any kind of startup investing as well, or even if you plan to do that, cash flow analysis is always an handy tool. Let's get started with this video. Cash in any business is the most important element. So if you look at what is the bank balance residing in the bank account of that company will ultimately decide what kind of investment opportunities that they would foresee for themselves, what kind of acquisitions that they can do, the expenses lined up in the near future term, can they actually cover those expenses? कंपनी के पास अगर कैश है तो कंपनी काफ़ी सारे इन्वेस्टमेंट ऑप्शंस को एक्सप्लोर कर सकती है. सो दैट्स वाई अंडरस्टैंडिंग कंपनी के पास कैश कितना है, इसके बेसिस पे वी गेट टू नो व्हाट इज द फ्यूचर टाइमलाइन ऑफ दैट कंपनी, व्हाट काइंड ऑफ ग्रोथ दैट द कंपनी कैन डू एंड वेयर इट कैन इन्वेस्ट दोज कैश actively. So that's why understanding cash flow analysis becomes very important. Now, cash flow analysis के पहले there are two technical concepts which is an indirect method and a direct method of accounting. ये accounting की terminology है, so we will not go into the depth of these terminologies, but basic एक आम आदमी के इंसान में इसको इस तरह से देखना that if you as a company, if you have a company and you are buying something from some other company or you are selling to your clients, the moment they give you the cash in return of those goods and services, the moment otherwise you pay the cash to your supplier in return of goods and services, you will treat that part as a revenue or an expense. That's a direct way of accounting. Indirect way ये कहता है कि हमने प्रोडक्ट बेच दिया क्लाइंट को या फिर हमने सप्लायर से कुछ प्रोडक्ट ले लिए, बट वी आर गोइंग टू सेटल द पेमेंट और रिसीव द पेमेंट फ्रॉम आवर क्लाइंट्स आफ्टर सम क्रेडिट टर्म्स, आफ्टर 15 days, 20 days, 30 days एंड सो ऑन. सो उस पीरियड के लिए भी हम इस एक्सपेंस को या फिर इस रेवेन्यू को अकाउंट करेंगे और ट्रीट करेंगे कि दैट इज अ सेल इन आवर बिजनेस. सो ये रहा इनडायरेक्ट वे ऑफ अकाउंटिंग. सेकेंड मेथड विच इज इनडायरेक्ट वे ऑफ अकाउंटिंग में कैश तुम्हारे हाथ में नहीं आया तो भी तुम इसको अपना सेल बता सकते हो. दैट्स कॉल्ड एज इनडायरेक्ट वे ऑफ अकाउंटिंग. और जनरली एक एक्सेप्टेड प्रिंसिपल है ग्लोबल लेवल पे, कुछ स्टैंडर्ड्स है फाइनेंस में विच फॉलो IFRS एंड ऑल ऑफ दोज थिंग्स, बट हमें इतना समझना है कि जो हमारा इनकम स्टेटमेंट होता है वो इनडायरेक्ट मेथड से अकाउंटेड है. सो जो भी सेल अमाउंट हमें इनकम में दिखता है, अगर किसी कंपनी में आपको 1000 करोड़ का सेल दिख रहा है, दैट डज नॉट मीन कि कंपनी के पास एक्चुअली 1000 करोड़ आ चुका है. दैट सिंपली मीन्स कि कंपनी ने 1000 करोड़ का सेल किया है, बट कैश उसमें से पूरा आया है ये नेसेसरी नहीं है. So with that note, let's get started into the details of cash flow analysis. Cash flow में 3 पार्ट्स होते हैं. हम कैश फ्लो में 3 पार्ट्स होता है इसीलिए कैश फ्लो को नहीं स्टडी करेंगे, बट एक एवरेज, एक कंसिडरिंग एक एनी नॉर्मल कॉमन बिजनेस, आप किसी किराना स्टोर को भी देखो तो उस बिजनेस में देयर आर 3 एक्टिविटीज विच दे डू कंसिडरिंग कैश. पहला होता है एक ऑपरेटिंग एक्टिविटी, दैट मीन्स रेगुलर डे में जितने भी ऑपरेशनल एक्सपेंसेस आ रहे हैं, एम्प्लॉय की सैलरीज हो गई, लाइट का बिल हो गया, कुछ प्रोडक्ट की खरीदी हो गई, कुछ एसेट्स की खरीदी हो गई, ऑल ऑफ दोज एक्सपेंसेस दैट आर अंडरगॉन, दोज आर ट्रीटेड अंडर कैश फ्लो फ्रॉम ऑपरेशंस. लाइकवाइज देयर इज कैश फ्लो फ्रॉम फाइनेंशियल्स, जिसमें कंपनी कोई लोन लेती है या फिर लोन देती है या फिर उसका EMI पे करती है, कंपनी इन्वेस्टर्स को डिविडेंड देती है, ये सब फाइनेंशियल ओरिएंटेड एक्टिविटी रहे. फिर थर्ड होता है कैश का एक्टिविटी विच इज रिलेटिंग टू योर इन्वेस्टमेंट, सच एज कंपनी अगर कोई किसी कंपनी में इन्वेस्ट करती है, थर्ड पार्टी कंपनी में इन्वेस्ट करती है, कोई किसी के साथ ज्वाइंट वेंचर करती है, किसी स्टार्टअप में इन्वेस्ट करती है, कंपनी खुद भी स्टॉक मार्केट में इन्वेस्ट कर सकती है. सो वो कंपनी के जो भी इन्वेस्टमेंट रिलेटेड एक्टिविटी है, कंपनी मोर ओवर खुद के बिजनेस में भी इन्वेस्ट कर सकती है एज अ पार्ट ऑफ देयर ग्रोथ प्लान. So all of those activities fall under cash flow from investing. So these are the 3 summarized points, which is cash flow from operations, cash flow from financing activity and cash flow from investing activities. So we will go into the depth of each of these points now. The starting point of a cash flow is an ending point of a profit and loss statement, that is the income statement. Now understand this very clearly. Once again I am repeating, the starting point of a cash flow is an ending point of a profit and loss statement. हम इसको क्यों कहते हैं कि बिजनेस में कोई भी प्रॉफिट हुआ, मान लीजिए ये एक फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट है अडानी एंटरप्राइजेस का, कंपनी के कुछ सेल्स हुए, इसके डिटेल्स में हम एक अलग वीडियो में जाएंगे ये सब डिटेल्स में, बट कंपनी का टोटल प्रॉफिट जो हुआ वो 952 करोड़ का हुआ. So this 952 is actually a profit on paper. That is not the actual cash in the bank account of Adani Enterprises. So we do a reverse process to understand कि कंपनी के हाथ में, कंपनी के बैंक में actual cash है कितना. So 952 becomes a starting point for us to start with cash flow analysis. Let's understand the structure in which a cash flow analysis is created, because this structure is the base of the entire video that we will see. So इस section को definitely ध्यान से देखना. So cash flow analysis का as we have seen, the starting point of a cash flow analysis is an ending point of a income statement. So अगर income statement को हम देखेंगे तो मान लीजिए ये example आप यहाँ पे देख रहे हो, where you are having a, say Adani Enterprises had a sale of somewhere around 100 crore. These figures over here are in crore. एंड कुछ प्रोडक्ट बेचा. सो टोटल अडानी एंटरप्राइजेस का ग्रॉस प्रॉफिट, मतलब प्रोडक्ट बेचने के बाद में जो प्रॉफिट रहा, दैट इज 70 करोड़. ओवर एंड अबाउ अडानी एंटरप्राइजेस के डेफिनेटली काफ़ी सारे एक्सपेंसेस है, कुछ सैलरी है, कुछ बिल्स है. जो भी अडानी एंटरप्राइजेस ने एसेट खरीदा हुआ है, जैसे कि कार्स, ट्रक्स, मशीन्स, इक्विपमेंट्स, प्लांट्स में लगे हुए हैं, उन सब एसेट्स का पेमेंट ऑलरेडी प्रोसेस कर दिया है. बट ग्रेजुअली मंथ ओवर मंथ उसके एक्सपेंस को, उस एसेट के कुछ वैल्यू को इनकम स्टेटमेंट में रिकॉग्नाइज किया जाता है एज एन एक्सपेंस. सो वो ये 10 करोड़ रहा. सिमिलरली फाइनेंस कॉस्ट है, जो कि इंटरेस्ट है लोन के ऊपर, मे बी अडानी एंटरप्राइजेस ने ऑलरेडी पे कर दिया है पूरे साल भर का इंटरेस्ट. सो दैट्स एन इंटरेस्ट अमाउंट ओवर हियर. देन अगेन देयर इज एनी इक्विपमेंट सेल, उसके ऊपर जो वॉट एवर इज अ प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस, वॉट एवर इज अ लॉस इज बीइंग अकाउंटेड ओवर हियर एज एन एक्सपेंस. सो टोटल जो रेसिडुअल बैलेंस रहा अडानी एंटरप्राइजेस का आफ्टर दिस 70 is 40 rupees after deducting all these different expenses. So these expenses are accumulating somewhere around 40. So the net profit that the Adani Enterprises has is somewhere around this 70 minus this 40, which is equivalent to 30 crore. Now इसमें से भी कुछ टैक्स जाएगा डेफिनेटली, एंड देन बचा हुआ प्रॉफिट जो है दैट इज अराउंड 20 करोड़. Now, is 20 crore a cash in the Adani Enterprises bank account? The answer is no. So if you look at this 20 crore, yes, definitely 20 crore का इस साल में इनकम हुआ है. But beyond above that, there were several expenses such as asset depreciation. This 10 crore is still there in the bank account. Adani Enterprises ने इस साल में या फिर ये मंथ में 10 crore have not paid to the owner of that asset from whomsoever Adani Enterprises has purchased that. So we have to add back this 10 crore. What does that mean is this 10 crore is still there in the Adani Enterprises bank account. Then there is a finance cost which is interest. So Adani Enterprises assume that have already paid an interest in the very beginning of the financial year. But then they have not paid this interest now. They have accounted for it now. So that's why this 10 crore is also there in the bank account of Adani. Similarly, there are some equipments which you have booked as a loss, but that 10 crore is also there in your bank account. So this additional 30 crore, which is not visible over here at 20 crore calculation, is still there in your bank account. So the cash in your bank account will be 50 crore for Adani Enterprises. So that's why there is a big difference between when you interpret a cash and a net profit. We as an investor, एक नॉर्मल पब्लिक इन्वेस्टर जो है, एंड एवरीवेयर इन मीडिया यू विल सी दैट एवरीवन टॉक्स अबाउट द इनकम स्टेटमेंट, द नेट प्रॉफिट, बट दैट्स नॉट ट्रू. व्हाट यू हैव टू लुक आफ्टर इज अ कैश. दिस इज द गोल्डन आई ऑफ अडानी एंटरप्राइजेस और एनी कंपनी टू दैट मैटर. Cash is the most important asset and it is very different from net profit. This is how the cash flow statement of Adani Enterprises look like. So if you see this, the net profit is the first starting point. In our example, 20 crore was the first starting point from where we reached out to 50 crore. So this in our example was 20 crore. So for Adani Enterprises, it is 952 crore. So what this cash flow statement will do is, it will add back the amounts which are there in the bank account with Adani Enterprises, such as, and also remove which are not there. So very simple, बैंक में जो है वो फिर से ऐड करो और जो बैंक में नहीं है उसको रिमूव करो. सो बैंक में डेप्रिसिएशन अमाउंट, ये जो अकाउंट किया था ड्यूरिंग योर इनकम स्टेटमेंट प्रिपरेशन, डेप्रिसिएशन अमोर्टाइजेशन मीन्स कि जो भी एसेट है, एसेट तुमने कोई बाय किया है, सो उस एसेट की एक लाइफ होती है 12 मंथ्स की या फिर एक 5 ईयर की, 10 ईयर की. Every period, every month, you will go and account for small portion of the amount as an expense. So that's a depreciation. Same thing works for intangible asset. उसको amortization कहते हैं यहाँ पे. So amortization का एक biggest example I would give is insurance. Company will definitely pay some lump sum amount for the insurance of the company itself, right? So it is not going to consider this entire amount into the income statement from very beginning. It will show a very big expense. So gradually, government gives them the provision as per the standard to account for some portion of that every period. But this payment is already done in the very beginning period, like it must be done last year itself. But now Adani Enterprises is accounting for these expenses. But ultimately this 1200 crore is there within the bank account with Adani Enterprises. That's why we are adding back. Moreover, wherever you see such curly brackets, that indicates in a financial statement that it is a negative number. So likewise all of those dividends, profits, net gain, ये सारे वो elements है, the expenses which are not there, for which money has been already moved out from the bank account. So you remove that funds from this 952 calculation. Then there are some government incentives. So to show you about what these government incentives are, why this minus 34 crore is being removed from our cash flow calculation. So if you look at the income statement of Adani Enterprises, there is one note given that कि जो भी टोटल इनकम अडानी एंटरप्राइजेस में रिकॉर्ड हुई है उस केस में गवर्नमेंट की एक इंसेंटिव भी थी. सो इन आवर अर्लियर कैलकुलेशन वी अकाउंटेड फॉर 100 करोड़ एज आवर रेवेन्यू. आउट ऑफ दैट लेट्स से 34 crore was our accounting of revenue as a government incentive. That means government is going to pay us some money back. But is government really going to pay you back? The answer is definitely not, until and unless that comes as a cash. So this amount which was recorded as a revenue, which will ultimately be considered in our net profit, is not there in your bank account at this point. That is why we will consider removing this from this cash flow calculation. And then you have this profit and loss, which is sale from property, plant and equipments. So ये common terminology है which you will see in any financial statement, which is PPE, property, plant and equipment. इसको ज़रूर याद रखना. So what does that mean is किसी भी कंपनी का अपना एक मैन्युफैक्चरिंग प्लांट होता है, जैसे कि अडानी का अडानी पावर प्लांट्स है, अडानी के सोलार प्लांट्स है. सो ऑल ऑफ दोज इक्विपमेंट्स विच आर यूज्ड इन दोज प्लांट्स, ऑल दोज प्रॉपर्टीज, ऑफिसेज, बिल्डिंग, ऑफिस स्पेसेस, दिस फॉल्स अंडर प्रॉपर्टी प्लांट एंड इक्विपमेंट. सो जो भी प्रॉपर्टी प्लांट एंड इक्विपमेंट बेचकर जो अडानी का टोटल प्रॉफिट या लॉस आया है, द मनी इज बीइंग रिमूव्ड फ्रॉम हियर. Then there are bad debt allowances. So Adani Enterprises definitely give loans to several different parties also. It can be employees or other parties as well. उनके अगेंस्ट जो एक प्रोविजन करके रहती है कि लाइक से Adani Enterprises ने 100 करोड़ का लोन दिया in this entire year. So it is making a provision over here that 18 crore amount will be defaulted by those different parties to whomever Adani Enterprises is giving that loan. But this was being accounted and provisioned for defaulting. It has not been defaulted. Very well, we are adding that money back in our cash calculation. Then there are several liabilities. Then due to exchange rate, there is some fluctuations, because of which Adani Enterprises timely accounts for the gain and loss around to it. Then there is a finance cost element over here. To understand this finance cost, let's get into the detail of income statement and what are these finance costs. We'll quickly see this. So if you see, this is how the income statement of Adani Enterprises looks like. Finance cost element stays over here. In the note 37, it has the details of that for 2,525 crore. So if you go to that specific note as a finance cost, you will understand that there is a cost of interest that Adani Enterprises has to pay to the several banks from whom they have taken a loan. Then there are some bank charges, and then there is exchange rate differences. That's what is being considered, and again it has been added back in that year in their cash flow calculations, because Adani Enterprises has not paid this amount to those different banks. That means this amount of 2,525 crore is still there in the bank account of Adani Enterprises. We are doing our cash calculation. This is where you will see it has been added back. There is no bracket sign to it. Then there is an interest income. Now this interest income is a kind of income. Adani Enterprises also gives loan, as we saw. So for that, and Adani Enterprises accounts for some income thinking that it will be earned. But if it is not earned, we are going to remove that income, because that has been considered in our income statement analysis once again. So that's why that amount has been removed out. After considering all of these different expenses for Adani Enterprises, what we are left out with us is a total amount of 4,122 crore sitting in the bank account. Now this is not an end account, we are end cash. We are still to reach the amount what we want for what is there in the bank account of Adani Enterprises. Taking this 4,122 crore forward in any business, understand that there are three activities which are always there, which are called as working capital activities, day-to-day working activities. That means some are receivables, whatever products and services that company sells to their clients, they account for that amount as a receivable. अगर मैंने 100 करोड़ का किसी कंपनी के लिए बड़ा प्रोजेक्ट किया है रियल एस्टेट कंस्ट्रक्शन का, तो उसके अगेंस्ट कंपनी इज नॉट गोइंग टू पे मी वेरी इमीडिएटली. सो मैं उसको टेम्परेरीली एज अ रिसीवेबल अकाउंट करूंगा. दैट्स व्हाट यू विल सी इन दिस कैश फ्लो एनालिसिस, फर्दर एक्सटेंडिंग दैट अमाउंट ओवर हियर. सो इफ यू सी दिस 4122 करोड़, उसमें जो भी रिसीवेबल हमने ऐड किया है, वी आर गोइंग टू रिमूव बैक बिकॉज वी हैव नॉट रिसीव्ड द कैश अगेंस्ट इट. Then there is an inventory which is sitting more over here. So what is that inventory? This is a net of the inventory amount. So company के पास beginning of the year में कुछ product already थे, कंपनी ने कुछ प्रोडक्ट खरीदे, खरीदे तो उसके लिए डेफिनेटली कंपनी ने पे किया है। वो जो खरीदने का एक्टिविटी है जिसके अगेंस्ट कंपनी ने पे किया है, दैट्स व्हाट इज रिप्रेजेंटेड ओवर हियर बाय -5024 करोड़। देन देयर इज सम पेएबल। अब ये पेएबल अमाउंट वो है कंपनी को जैसे क्लाइंट ने पे नहीं किया, लाइकवाइज कंपनी इज ऑल्सो नॉट पेइंग टू देयर सप्लायर. So they are taking some time period, so they are taking some time in order to pay back that money to the supplier. That's what this 7,188 crore reflects over here. So if you see this, if you make a total of all of this entire amount, you will boil down to this figure of 1,385 crore. So if you see, our profit was 952 crore, but what cash Adani Enterprises is having is 1,385 crore. And again, this is not the final cash figure. This is the cash figure only from operations activity. So this is the point number 1 to understand from cash flow from operations activity. Let's move on to the next chapter where we will talk about cash flow from investing. किसी भी कंपनी के पास इन्वेस्टमेंट के 3 ही ऑप्शंस होते हैं. आइदर दैट कंपनी कैन इन्वेस्ट इन देमसेल्स व्हेन इट कम्स टू एक्सपांडिंग देयर बिजनेस, लॉन्चिंग अ न्यू ऑफिस सेटअप, एक्सपांडिंग विद अ न्यू प्रॉपर्टी, न्यू प्लांट, और कोई इक्विपमेंट खरीद लिया. सो दीज आर ऑल इन्वेस्टिंग इन देयर ओन सेल्फ. दैट्स कॉल्ड सेल्फ इन्वेस्टमेंट, विच इज ऑल्सो कॉल्ड एज कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर. ये एक फाइनेंशियल जार्गन है. होल्ड इट, आई विल एक्सप्लेन यू दिस इन मोर डिटेल. Now, second option company has is investing in other business. Company can joint venture with other companies. Company can invest in a different startup, or company can completely acquire that different company. That's called as investing in other business. Third option company has is company can themselves invest in marketable securities. So when we say marketable securities, that means इक्विटी होल्डिंग्स हो गया, स्टॉक मार्केट में कंपनी इन्वेस्ट कर सकती है, म्यूचुअल फंड्स, बॉन्ड्स, funds, treasury bills, fund of funds, all those kinds of investment, marketable securities in which company can invest, falls under investing activity. Yeah. So if you see this over here, which is cash flow from investing for Adani Enterprises, it is investing in several capital expenditure activities, new plants, new equipments, कोई property में. So they are investing somewhere around 11,647 crore, which is a good sign. That's why it is shown in negative. That means money is going out from their bank account into that investing activity, which is always a good sign for any company to look after. So they are investing in their own business, which is a good point. Secondly, they are investing in several joint venture or subsidiaries over here. That's where the money is going in. Here through sale of some properties, some equipments, the money is coming in over here. Then further, if you look extending that investing activity further, then there are several acquisitions, some non-current loans where the money is already going out. As you can see here, the money is coming in for non-current or current loan kind of categories. Then there are several withdrawals, bank deposits for which money has already deposited into some bank account on a particular term basis. That's where the money is being pulled out. Then there are sale of current assets, which you see. So any current asset, such as an asset which is for a duration of less than 1 year, which has been booked or purchased, for which the money has gone out from the bank account of Adani Enterprises, is booked out over here as minus 31.6 crore. Likewise, there is an interest received for some kind of investment that the company has done, or any kind of loan that company has given. More or less, the short story is, through all of those investing related activities, there is a net amount which is represented over here, which is of minus 17,487 crore. Now what we need to understand and question is, why is this amount negative, and what is the source of this money to go negative? कंपनी के पास हमने प्रॉफिट देखा था somewhere around 1400, 952 was a net profit, but in this year, having this profit, company has already invested somewhere around 17,000 crore. What is the source of this money? That is a question that we need to understand, and these are the points that we get to understand when we read through cash flow analysis. So for us to understand that source, let's get inside the cash flow from financing activity. So cash flow from financing activity में दो बहुत important चीजें होती है. Very simple. What is the source of money? That means either it has taken some kind of loan, or it is repaying that loan. That activity we get to know from this financing activities. And next point would be the dividend. So whatever dividend that the company gives to different shareholders, that information is also revealed inside this financing activities. So as you can see this over here, for cash flow from financing activities for Adani Enterprises, proceeds from borrowing. Proceeds ये एक financial word है that simply means money which is being borrowed from borrowing. Adani Enterprises in this year of 2022 has borrowed an additional 18,000 crore rupees in their company in order to run their business and grow. Out of that 18,000 crore, 17,000 crore was invested. So you get to know now the source of the acquisitions, the new expansion in their own business which Adani Enterprises has done. What is the source of money? The source of money is their own borrowing. This is not at all a good state of any company. If company is expanding at the cost of borrowing, it is a very risky state. If a company is expanding at the cost of their own money with their own cash, which is a very healthy sign, because they don't have to repay any interest on that money. But here for this 18,000 crore, in the coming timeline, Adani Enterprises will have to repay that interest. Likewise, any repayment if Adani Enterprises has done, which you can see over here, is very small amount repaid in this particular year, which is negative. Then interest paid, that is something again revealed over here. So in a nutshell, again for financing activities, what is the total amount that you can see from financing activities? There is a cash inflow of plus 15,000 crore, plus 15,900 crore coming into the bank account. So as a net amount for all of these activities, different set of activities which Adani Enterprises would do, if you make a total of all of these things, the net cash flow which Adani Enterprises is currently having is somewhere around, as you can see here, is 246 crore. That means in the year of 2022, by the end of March 2022, Adani Enterprises have only and only 246 crore in their bank account, considering all the cash flow. The biggest amount which Adani Enterprises is receiving is from the loan that we saw, which is inside this 15,000 figure. It is investing in their own business. Very small portion is actually coming from their day-to-day operations. So if you want to interpret any cash flow statement, this is how you would do. First, you will look at cash flow from operations activities, and we are also summarizing on this video, so keep your attention. So if you look at cash flow from operations activity, which is a positive thing, yes, it is a good point. Cash flow from investing activities, it could be negative, that's fine, because business have to invest a lot of money in their own business expansion, and India being a developing country, there is always a plethora of opportunity in every sector. Then cash flow from financing, it could be positive or negative. More or less, it is better to be neutral. Why? Because if you are taking an excess amount of debt, then it is definitely to show a positive sign. What we need to look after is when you are investing in your own business, what is the source of fund? Now there are many interesting points which you can look after inside analyzing any cash flow statement is, if you look at this investing activity and even operating activity to that matter, let me start from the operating activity for you. So if you look over here, the payable amount resembles how much Adani is currently not paying and holding the cash with them. So in this figure, Adani Enterprises is clearly stated that Adani Enterprises has not paid somewhere around 7,188 crore in this year of 2022 to their supplier, which is fine for this year. But the problem is, if you look at the last 10 years data of Adani Enterprises, this has been the highest amount so far, and moreover, the 2023 period has already closed. Adani Enterprises has further not paid to the supplier. This will lead to a bigger problem. Why? Because supplier relationships will get disturbed. Supplier are not getting a payment from Adani Enterprises. So if you are one of the supplier, again, not to go into that debate, but this is something which is worth considering as an investor, that Adani Enterprises are defaulting to their suppliers. Moreover, Adani Enterprises is not paying to their supplier. And further on top of that, Adani Enterprises are spoiling the relations of theirs with their supplier, and the suppliers are likely to increase their finished good, the raw material prices that they supply to Adani Enterprises. So this is one thing that we can analyze and interpret from these figures. Secondly, this 11,000 crore investment which Adani Enterprises has done, which is a good thing, and again I iterate that fact, you should always ask upon the source of this fund. What is the source of this fund? And thirdly, from financing activity, you will definitely get to know what is the source of this fund and where it is coming from. You can go into the annual statement, annual report of Adani Enterprises, which will reveal you the details about this 18,000. You definitely need to consider the last historical transactions, last historical movement of finances, considering this source of funds. This is not a big amount for Adani Enterprises, because if you look historically, Adani Enterprises has very well borrowed more or less the similar amounts or even twice of that amount in past, which is fine enough. And despite that, Adani Enterprises has able to sustain their business. But the sustenance is not in terms of cash, sustenance is only in terms of paper profit. So if you see, the net cash flow after borrowing this high amount has gone negative multiple instances. So that is something which we need to consider. Now we don't know in 2024 whether here the number will be positive or negative for cash flow, because what sense does it make if you don't have money in your bank account? Cash is king. That's what I would want to conclude on this video. I hope you have got a fair enough idea of cash flow analysis. If not, I would recommend try to rewatch this video once again. And again, I insist, carry a paper and pen next time when you start watching my video, because in my every video, there will be some or the other takeaway which will help you grow and be financial free. This is Ajinkya signing off. See you in the next video. Bye guys, and do subscribe.